afternoon everyone, I'm Deb from Project Life, Deb's Way. I've got another layout for you in my style, and I'll just give you a sneak peek of what it is. And here's the other side of the layout. And it is from Uniquely Creative, who is an Australian scrapbooking company. And for once we actually have an Australian themed papers, which don't happen very often. And it is called Echoes of the Outback. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I don't very often get a collection where I actually sit down and just do a layout really quickly, because I sort of decide on my papers months ahead of time to get all my papers and everything else in, whereas this one came in a kit, fell in love with it, so I've got my extra layout for this month. So there will be 2 layouts published this month, because I have my normal one that I do as well, so this is just an extra. So I do hope that you enjoy following along with the tutorial, and don't forget, for my Facebook group, which I'll put the link below, I do all the cutting and everything else of all the papers, and I'll show you how to cut ready to make all of these cards and what you'll need. So let's get on with the fun. I will show you the making of the cards from the start to the finish. So you can actually make this layout by using different papers if you can't get this, but it is a new collection, so it is quite readily available. So let's get on with the fun and make a layout. So here's the sneak peek of the layout that you'll be doing in this tutorial. I have changed some of the smaller 3x4 photo mats because I've put single photographs in and they didn't look right on the white background, so I've just put some cards in to accommodate that fact. But I do hope you enjoy the process, so we'll go through with what papers we use and also of making all your cards. So let's get going. Hi everyone, so here's the cutting file. You will need, I have used the Kaiser Craft Premium CD601 white. It is sort of like a, you can actually see that's your normal white. It's like a winter white. It's like a creamy white. So we only need 1 card of this. You'll need the pink check, the brown sheet with the florals, the pink sheet. You will also need some of this for the wood grain, but before you do that, make sure you cut from the opposite side to that has the kangaroo and this, because these are the 2 round frames that you will be using. You also need this sheet here. Now the green circles, you need to chop this piece out and you cut your green for inside those circle frames out of this green here. And you'll need a few bits down the bottom here, some of the words and a couple of the tickets here and that postcard there. And I will, this is the floral sheet that you will be, so if you want to stop the video, you can actually see I have actually got them there, but I will take a more detailed photograph of this so that it's up close for you. Now this is our first card. So this is off of one of the paper sheets, and I love the flourishes and that. Now I've cut Love This Life. Now if you don't have any die cut sort of sayings that you can use for this, you could actually type up Love This Life on the computer in big font and then cut your separate pieces out. It's just that I particularly wanted this one, and I may even colour it black as yet. And from the ephemera pack, I actually took one of these tags out. But for the girls that belong to my group, I will actually have a printout of something very similar to this that you can actually use. Now, for my florals with this one, this came from the sheet here, and you need to cut that one out, and you'll have a flower cluster down the bottom. You need this bottom piece, but always keep these because I do use these a lot. And I also used this flower on this sheet here. So you need to fussy cut those out and just ink them just around the edges to take any of that white off, which is something I'm an inker. I always do like to ink my things. Some people aren't, but I do prefer. I think it just gives you a better finish. Now, for the outside of the card, once again, just quickly give it a little bit of ink. We don't need an awful lot with this because it's got plenty of colour. So, with this card here, I will be just sticking this down with some glue. And down the bottom here, I've got 3 flowers. May even stick that one like that to get it off center. And I'm popping a little tag down the bottom to hide that. Didn't like the look of it, so that goes there. So we will just attach these down. Now, the tag, we are going to pop that flat. And this floral is also flat. Now you can stick this with glue or with tape. That is purely up to you. Now, I'm going to try to put a bin up the top here to put all my rubbish in, so we can slip that underneath. Now what I'm going to do with these, I'm going to build these up in 3 different layers. Now I have got some 1mm foam tape here, which you can actually get, and then I have got my 2-inch, and there is quite a big difference between the two sizes, and they're perfect for what I need with this, because you can't build up too many layers. So my first flower I'm going to, which is the white, so we're going to put a piece of the 1mm tape on that floral. Like so. Then this one I'm going to build up, stick it flat on the bottom and just build it up. So I want a piece of the 2-inch foam at the top of that floral. Then I'm going to put a tiny little bit of tape underneath just to attach that down. Now this here, I'm leaving this to put your title or any journaling that you want. And as I said, if you didn't want this, you could just put your title here. I got very excited when I saw this particular set, because it is very Australian with all the florals, but anybody else outside of Australia could use this. But I'm just about to go on holidays up the top end, and this will be absolutely perfect for my travel. But for the purpose of this video, because we haven't gone yet, so I haven't got anything to put in, and I do like to show my layouts with photos, I will put some of the animals that we have visiting our house up here in the Adelaide Hills until I'll change them over once I get my travel photographs done. Now I decided to put an extra video about this on because this has just come out from Uniquely Creative, and I think it will sell out quite quickly once people actually start looking at the papers and things, because they are really beautiful. So there we have our first card and our title card complete. Now we're going to do card number 2. This one's got your 3x4 photo mat. Now I use the wood grain just to back, so I've got an extra. It's 3 1/4 by 2 1/4. So we need to put our photo mat onto that. So just pop that in the center, and I've done all my inking around the edges. Now this one here, I want the brick at the top, and our card will go at the bottom. Now this one is, don't stick it down, just stick the bottom down and not the top, because you'll be popping things in. Now these florals, the two florals here came from the top of the cut apart sheet, so you'll need this one here and this one here. I also have used on this sheet here the cluster. You'll need that whole cluster cut out, but I've split it into 3. So that's used for number 7, that's number 3, and this one here, you can actually see the line, and I've fussy cut that out like that. Now I cut some of the leaves off here to make it fit, so I've got rid of that leaf, and that spindly leaf there, and also that little bit there. So what I want for this one will go underneath like this. That one will go underneath with the leaf, and then I want this one just on the top of the card. This one, of course, will be raised, and I may actually raise these little florals here. So I need some of my tape here. Really must clean these scissors. These are my foam tape scissors, and they do get very grotty. Okay, so with this floral, I'm just going to put some of that tape just at the top to raise those, get it on the slant. So then I'll put tape down the bottom to make sure it's well attached. So I'll take all of the Now, for those people that haven't been doing my layouts with me, don't forget, always buy good tapes, because the cheaper tapes from the cheapest chip shops and things, they will unstick within about 6 months. Whereas I use Express It tapes. I love them. They are movable for the first day, then they stick like glue afterwards, and they will last. I've had stuff in my album for up to 10, 15 years, and they have not moved. They're still stuck as good as the day I put them in. So this one here, we're not going to raise that one. We're going to put that one flat underneath. So we'll just put some of the tape on, or glue. And just pop that underneath. Then this one here, I'm just going to get a piece of the tape, put it towards the top of the flower so that when it goes over, it's not going to go over your photo mat. So there is card number 2. Very quickly done. So here's card number 3. So I've got my 6x4 base card. Now from the pink, I cut a 5 3/4 by 1.5 inch piece. And that is going to go onto that card on the left hand side with an even border all round. Then I have got my photo mat, which is a 3x4. When you get your 3x4 photograph, you need to trim it down just that 1/16 of an inch just to get that little border. And that is going to go at the bottom. Slightly across, not in the center, so that your borders here and here match up. And then you want this a little tiny border at the bottom. Now, don't press that down too hard. That's what I mean by the tape. You can actually lift it and move it. And now, here I want this. Now, this came from this sheet here. So you just need to cut that piece there out. And the florals, you've got the small one here. You've got this cluster here. I've used the 2. That's this 2. That's that piece that comes down there that I've cut off. And this one came off of this sheet here, which is this one here, just there. So that needs to be cut out. So now we're going to just pop our clusters in, pop that further up, and And then once you're happy with how your cluster is looking, you can actually stick them all down. So what I do is I tend to hold those ones underneath. So that you can get then you can start building up your clusters. It isn't very often that I get a paper line that I can't wait to get my hands on it. And this layout went together so quickly, but it is so effective. So there we have, I'm going to pop a little bit of glue under these two leaves just to make sure they're stuck down really well. So there's card number 3 complete. Now this is card number 4. So I've got my 6x4 base card. I cut from the pink a piece that is 3 3/4 by 2 inches, which will be going at the top. So I have inked my edges. So that will go up at the top of the card with that nice little border. I've got my 3x4 mat. Now the difference with this one, I normally put them at the top or the bottom, but with this one, I want it right smack bang in the middle of the card there. Pop the bottom down, but don't press the top. Now with my florals, this one here comes from that corner from the pink card there. All the rest come from the cut apart sheet. We have got this cluster here. I have used that whole cluster and cut across the bottom, a straight line straight across the bottom. Then from the cluster above, I cut that floral. Just get your scissors in and cut, because you'll use some of all of this stuff here. This one here comes from the bottom. So you need to virtually just cut that whole floral out. And the leaves comes from this cluster. I've got some leaves there. Or if you want this cluster here, it depends on the bits that you have left over. So that's where your florals have come from. Now this top floral, I just want that poked underneath. With the leaves like that. So I'm going to just glue this one in. Then those 3 leaves, just pop the 3 leaves in. Move it around until you're happy with how it's looking. Now the bottom floral, this one goes down the bottom here, as far over as you can get without that coming over. Now with this, make sure you do not stick your tape above here. Otherwise you won't get your photograph onto your photo mat. That way you can get your photograph in there. Then this one gets that 1mm foam tape. And this one here we're going to do that little trick that I sometimes do. Cut some of your card stock and just, I don't want this flower raised too much. So just pop your little bit of cardstock underneath. And that goes into the corner. And as you probably can't see it on the video, but it just gives you that little bit of extra depth on your bottom piece. And there we have card number 4 complete. Now that little spare leaf, it's going to throw it in the bin, but I have decided that looks a bit, so we're just going to pop that on the other side. That looks better. So there we have card 4 finished, and we'll go on to our 3x4 cards. We're on to our 3x4, so just go through the florals. We have got the little bit of this cluster that you cut for number 4. You need that top bit. 5A, I use this little cluster and this one here for those. Then here I used this floral here, this floral here, including that sprig of wattle, and the fun came from here with one of these tickets. So let's get on with our cards here. I've got them all spread out. So our card 5B and 5D are the 3x4, and this cardstock is not a really white cardstock. It is a winter white, so it's on the warm side of the color spectrum. So you can use your white, but the creamy colored cardstock looks much better. I just call it a winter white, and I use Kaiser Craft Premium White, which is what those are. So that's our 2 photo mat. So just cut your photograph, your 3x4, cut it down slightly so that you've got that white trim. So this one here, I have used the little bit of barbed wire, which you want at the top. Now I cut a circle from the frame sheet with the animals, and I cut the animal out, and then I got this sheet here. I cut these out of here so I could have the green background. So this will go underneath the circle. So you virtually need 2 circles like this with the green underneath, because I'll be using that on the other side of the layout to match up. Now what I'm going to do is put that right in the middle of that 3x4 card, base card. Like so. Now this is where we have our little florals. So we're going to tuck that one underneath, tuck this one in. This one goes at the top. I have, and then this one is at the top like that. So there's the build up of this card. So now I've done that, I'm going to just pop these underneath. Now I'm happy with their placement. So I'll stick the ticket underneath so I can get the placement correct. Now with these florals, I want to stick them down at the bottom and then put a little bit of that 1mm foam tape underneath the top. So I've done my tape. I'm going to put the bit of that foam tape just at the top and tuck that underneath like so. Then I'll do exactly the same for this one. And tuck that underneath, and that just gives you a little bit of dimension so your card's not absolutely flat. So there we have card 5A complete. Now we'll start our construction of 5C. So with that, I have got the pink check. I also cut, there was a little bit of this card left over, and I liked the brickwork, and that is 2 3/4 by 2, which will go in that corner. Now I've inked all the edges. As you can tell with my nails, I've got ink everywhere. Now the postcard came from here. That's going to go in the middle of that card. I'm going to bring that just slightly over and down. The fun came from this sheet just here. So I just sort of cut round that line that they have. That's going down into that bottom corner. The ticket. So I'll just lay these down so I can get my ticket in the right spot. Put that on a bit of a slant. Put my wattle in. And with this one, I'm going to attach the bottom and put your piece of 1mm foam tape at the top. And make sure everything's well stuck down if you're using glue. And there we have our 2 eye candy cards completely done. Now just remember, if you can't get the plastic folders that have the separate 3x4s and you only have the single 6x4s, which are easier to get hold of, what you can do is pop these up together and just back them on a 6x4 card, stick them on, and then slide them into the 6x4 allocation on the page, and it will work perfectly fine that way. So now we're going to go on to our right hand side of our layout. Here comes card number 6, which is on our right hand side. This is once again an eye candy card. Now the florals, we have got a little floral here. We have used this cluster here, which I have just, you can see, just cut round those flowers. And I've used those 2 sprigs there. Best Day Ever comes from here, which you've got quite a lot of different things that you can put on there. And from the sheet here, I had this piece of card here at the bottom, and I have actually torn it. Now when you are tearing, you tear from the top. Here it is here. You tear down towards you. From that bottom corner is about 1/4 inch down to here. And that will give you that white edge. If you tear it the other way, the white edge is on the opposite, it will be on this side of the card. So what we want with this is I'm placing that down the bottom. So just attach it to the bottom and don't do that second edge. Because once again, remember I said you needed that round frame with the green. That is going to go underneath that cut. Then the Best Day Ever will go here. So make sure you've got enough room to fit that into the corner. So once you're happy with that, you can actually stick those pieces down. So we sort of get our focal points first, then we build it up with our florals. Now this floral here, unfortunately I've done a no-no. I have actually stuck that down. So I am going, because I've done that, I'm going to just rule this with my pencil and cut it with my Stanley knife. So it looks like I've tucked that underneath. So before I glued the backing on, I should have actually had this. Okay, so now I'm happy with the way my florals are sitting. I am going to glue this down. And once again, I'm going to get some of my foam tape to follow that theme through. And I'm going to pop this so I can take all of this off. I need another little bit of cut some little bits. Right, then I can take my backings off. Okay, now once I've got my backings off, just need that little bit off there. Then I'm going to pop some glue under this one to make, because it's a good anchor point. Then with these, I'm just going to glue these in and tuck them underneath. Now I want this one to sort of splay up that ring there. So we'll stick him down first and then stick the smaller one. Then just attach this one just on the top. So there we have card number 6. I'll just get anything that's not really stuck down, just pop a little bit of glue underneath to get that well stuck. So there we have that card done and finished. So this is card number 7. Now I've got my 6x4 base card and I've cut from the pink a piece that is 5.5 by 2 inches, and that is going to go on the bottom of the card. Then I have my 6x4 photo mat. Don't attach this edge here. Now these florals, they come from here. It's just that floral there and that little sprig that comes up there. And what I want that for is to go up and underneath. I think I might take that piece off, not happy with that. Then I'm going to put the sprig up the top so it leads up. So we can attach that just underneath. And if there's anything loose, like I've got a little loose leaf there, I always snipped it a bit too much when I was cutting out the leaves. Then this piece gets just popped underneath that cluster. Make sure everything's stuck down. And I'm not quite happy with that photo mat there. I might actually lift that up slightly and come across slightly. So you'd have roughly about 1/4 inch border around the bottom there. That looks a bit better. Happier with that. So there's card number 7. Card number 8 is what I class as my 6x4 photo. I've got my 6x4 mat, which I did in the wood grain. Then I cut some brown, which I've actually edged quite heavily, which is 5 3/4 by 3 3/4. That goes on. Then I've got my 5 1/2 by 3 1/2. Once again, if you have a 6x4, you just cut your photograph down that little bit. So there's card number 8 complete. Okay, card number 9. Now this one has come out of this sheet just here, like that, and I've just cut that piece out. This little one has come from down here at the bottom, like that. And of course the ticket. So what I've got here is my 4 1/4 by 3 1/4 photo card. And this is 3 by 3 1/4 of the brown with my pink 6x4. So what we need to do is put this little square in that corner. Our photo mat will go over this side here. Now I do have some pencil marks showing there. I'll just rub them out. Now this little floral needs to go down the bottom of the card. So you bring that in as far as you can, and we're going to raise this tiny little bit here. And because I haven't trimmed out the centers, I tend to like to, if there's a bit of open floral, I just get a Stanley just get rid of them. Right, I'm happier with that. I might just trim that a little bit more out. There we are. Okay, so that is going down the bottom here, and I'm going to put, once again, a little bit of that foam tape at the top of that flower. Oh, this stuff is terrible to get off. So I'll put a bit of flat tape once I find my end. we get that into position. Now I've got a ticket here. And I'm just going to poke that underneath so I can't see that admit one. Then this little piece is going to go on that foam tape, making sure I put the foam tape at the bottom and not the top so that it doesn't interfere with your photograph. So there we have card number 9 done, and we go on to our 3x4 cards. So we're on to our last of our 3x4 cards. So we have got our 10D and 10B in just our 3x4 white mats. Then we'll go on to our, what I class as my eye candy cards. Now this one here, which is 10A, I have got my 3x4. I've got some of the pink with the brickwork there, which needs to go, which is 3 5/8 by 2. So that will be just going on the left hand side. This floral has come from here. I've cut this one out. There is also 10C here, and then 10A I have taken the leaves and that yellow flower, which is this one here, and the leaves, and this particular one comes from here on that cutting sheet, and this flower here comes from here. I also have this one here that I've cut, which is this one here, and the right now comes once again just here on the cut apart sheet. So what we're going to do with this one is going to go flat onto that card just like that, and for ease I'm going to glue that straight down. So once that's glued down, we're going to pop the little yellow flower on the top. Then I'm going to put some foam tape at the top of that flower, glue the bottom down and just tuck that underneath. And I wanted some extra foliage there, and tuck those leaves. Like that. There we have that card there done. The right now I'm not sure where I want that, so I'm leaving that alone for the moment. Now on to 10C. We have got that cluster. Now I've put some foam tape at the top of that flower, and I'm just going to glue. Now see this floral here, I am going to use some of that with this cluster. I've forgot to take my bits off. Right. So sort of just angle that so those little bells are there. Then this one is going down the bottom of that card. Slightly there. And I also think, I don't like the look of this, so I'm going to cut one of those pink tickets out. Or, okay. Let's have a look. Okay, I'm going to cut not a pink ticket. Okay, and then we'll chop that little white center out. Oop, that was a bit too much chopping. Okay, tuck that underneath and that hides that. I also might just chop a leaf from one of these. There is always a way that you can cover up things that you don't like. I'm going to chop that leaf off. I'm going to stick this one underneath. Then I'll grab these two leaves and just pop those underneath to balance that out. And there we have hidden that little hinge, which didn't look very nice. Now I'm going to make the decision I'm going to put that here because that looks more balanced. There's too much white space here. So we will just tuck him underneath. To balance that card out slightly. So there we have our complete layout finished. So once you've finished making all of your cards and you lay them side by side ready to go into your plastic folders, this is what you will have as the finished product. I do hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and don't forget to subscribe and like my channels, because then you'll get informed when there's new videos up. So until next time, keep crafting. Bye.